So moving expenses used to be deductible for anybody who was moving for work as long as they were moving, what is it, like more than 50 miles away from their former employer. So you'd get to deduct moving expenses. It's no longer deductible for anybody. They severely limited this deduction back in 2017. Now it's only for members of the military, and they have to be on active duty. And the funny thing about that is that usually that stuff's paid for anyway by the federal government. So I don't know how much this is actually used, but it may be used for some incidentals. But it's for the spouse, dependents, or the individual as long as they're on active duty. The form that's used is Form 3903. This is what it looks like. It's a fairly simple form. There's only 5 lines here. So some of the items that you get to deduct if you meet the qualifications, and we'll talk about those qualifications. Transportation, storage of household goods and personal effects. So if you're paying a moving company to move your furniture and that sort of thing, that would be included in there. And it's not reimbursed, and it's not excluded from your income somehow. Travel from your old home to your new home, not including meals. Meals don't count. You'd have to eat anyway, even if you weren't traveling. And then you subtract that, total all that up, and subtract any amount that you were reimbursed. That reimbursement amount would show up on a W-2 form. So for all of us ordinary folks, if we get paid, if our employer pays for our moving expenses, let's say you work for Principal and they want you to move to Denver, and they pay for you to move to Denver, that's taxable income to you nowadays. So if they pay, and a lot of companies would pay big bucks to try and entice people to, take certain positions, they pay for the transport. And I tell you, the transportation of your household goods, that's could be $15,000, $20,000. If they pay you to, some of them would even pay like the commission on the sale of your house, so you didn't have to pay the commission. That is all taxable income now. So individuals who receive moving expenses, paid moving expenses, now have to pay tax on those moving expenses. It can be a bit much. And it's included in W-2 wages. So this is the form, like I said. But like I said, nowadays, so now for everybody except members of the armed forces, active duty armed forces, has to pay, if the employer pays for their moving expenses, they have to pay tax on it. Also, they don't get to deduct any of their moving expenses if they pay for it out of pocket. Used to be that everybody who moved, as long as they qualified, the move qualified, would get to deduct these expenses. And now it's only members of the armed forces that are in active duty. So it has to also be because of a permanent change of station. Any unreimbursed moving expenses can be deductible. So they include the definition of a permanent change of station here. Move from their home to their first post of active duty, a move from one permanent post to another, move from their last post of duty to their home or to a nearer point in the United States. Move must occur within 1 year of ending their active duty or within the period allowed under the Joint Travel Regulations. So service members also don't include in their income the value of any moving and storage that was provided by the government because of a permanent change of station. So instead, if they're not paying out of pocket and getting a deduction, if the government pays for it, then they don't have to, unlike everybody else, they don't have to pay tax on that. Let's see. So any reimbursements that are over and above the actual moving expenses, that would be included as taxable income, and it would be included on their W-2. So it includes moving of their household goods and personal effects. They cannot deduct expenses for moving furniture or other goods if those items were purchased on their way to the new location. So if it was bought on the way there, you can't get a deduction for that. Cost of storage and insuring, as long as it's within a period of 30 consecutive days after the goods in effect are moved from the former home and before they are delivered to the new home. So you can't just store things long term and get reimbursement for it, and have it excluded from income. Stop. Thank you. So travel, service members can deduct expenses of traveling, including lodging but not meals, from their old home to their new home, including car expenses and airfare. They can deduct either their actual out-of-pocket expenses, or they can take a standard mileage rate. So if, it's 21 cents a mile, so if they have to travel 1,000 miles, they get a deduction of $210 for that. They can add parking fees and tolls to that amount. You'll see this come up again in Chapter 6 when we talk about business mileage. Same types of things. You get a choice between actual and standard mileage rate for business mileage as well. Oh, what else do I want to say? So if it's a foreign move, the expenses are expanded to include moving the service member's household goods and personal effects to and from storage, and storage for storing these items for all or part of the time that the new job location remains the service member's main duty location. So if you're stationed, in Korea for 2 years or something, the cost of your storage would be deductible in that case. Spouses and dependents. So anyone who is So a member of the service member's household, anyone who is both the service member's former home, a member of the former home and the new home, so they've got to be a member of both, does not include a tenant or employee, obviously, unless that person can be claimed as a dependent. All right. If the member dies, the member of the armed forces dies, is imprisoned, or deserts, a permanent change of station for the spouse or dependent includes a move to any of the following: place of enlistment, home of record, or a nearer point in the U.S. So I'm not going to go through how to complete that form. It's pretty self-explanatory. Questions?